Sir Richard. Do people call you Sir Richard or Richard usually?
Richard normally. We
are in a TV studio.
It's a very flashy TV studio. I'm afraid I've only got 5 minutes.
You should just say, if there are noises in the background outside, we'll just carry on.
It's a Virgin train, it's all right. We don't mind a little bit of advertising going on while we're talking.
You've got a plug in there already.
No, I'll see how many plugs I can get in 5 minutes.
Don't, please. Okay, are you ready?
At least it's not the BBC. Oh, it is the BBC.
So Richard, please will you count us down, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, once the battery's in. Here we go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Tell me one thing about yourself that we might not know about you.
I'm a very keen kite surfer, love the sport, keeps me fit and healthy, and I do it quite a lot in the Caribbean.
Is that how you got into it, in the Caribbean?
Yeah, I got into it about 8 years ago when it was just invented as a sport, and it was pretty lethal then, but I've somehow survived.
When you're away from the UK, what do you miss most about it?
Oh, family and friends, and you know, the theatre and you know, good music, and there's a lot to offer.
Describe yourself in a sentence or two.
I think that I'm somebody that has great difficulty saying no. I love saying yes, and that's got me into into trouble on occasions, but I love a new challenge.
Tell me a little bit about trying to break records. What appeals to you about breaking records?
I think it's the technological achievement, and it's the personal achievement. It's trying to achieve things that mankind has not achieved before. It's been tremendous. I've had tremendous fun in my life doing it.
And who got you into breaking records?
I suspect it was my mum originally. I mean, she would try to make us stand on our own 2 feet. She would, shove me out of the car at age 6 and tell me to make my own way to grandmother's house, or shove me on a bicycle and tell me to ride 200 miles. So she was determined that we did things ourselves and didn't watch other people doing things.
What is the best piece of advice that you've ever been given?
Again, I think it was my mother's advice, and that was always to look for the best in people, never to criticize other people. And she would, send me to the mirror, make me stand in front of the mirror and say it reflected badly on myself if I criticized somebody.
What's the closest you've ever come to death?
I think it's happened quite a lot. I think on my balloon crossing at the Pacific, I lost half of the fuel, and the only way I could survive was find winds that would carry me at 200 miles an hour across the Pacific. And somehow or another, we got extremely lucky. I missed LA by 4,000 miles, ended up in the Arctic, but on a frozen lake, but I survived.
Were you ambitious as a boy?
Yeah, I'm not sure whether the word ambitious is right. As a young lad, like a lot of young lads, I wanted to change the world, and I actually left school at 15 to start a magazine to try to campaign to stop the Vietnamese War. So I suppose, okay, maybe I was slightly ambitious.
Is there one business decision that you've made that's been key in getting you to where you are now?
I think starting an airline, I flew a lot in other people's airlines. I ran a record company. I hated the experience, and I think Virgin Atlantic really put Virgin on the map globally.
How much time do you actually spend running your business interests?
I've delegated most of my business interests. Most of my time is now spent on not-for-profit ventures, so setting up social enterprises around the world, the Elders, the Carbon War Room, Centre for Disease Control in Africa, the Oceanic Elders, and I find that that's absolutely fascinating.
Do you think you have to be sometimes ruthless to get to where you are, to get to where you've got to?
I think being ruthless is counterproductive. I think people like to deal with people who, play fair, and I think it's the stereotype of, the ruthless entrepreneur pushing their way to the top. I don't think it's an accurate portrayal of how to get to the top.
Are you tough though?
Maybe. I mean, if I'm taking on British Airways, I'll be tough. I'll fight my corner.
Can you train someone or teach someone to be an entrepreneur, or are you just born an entrepreneur, do you think?
No, I think entrepreneurs can become entrepreneurs by just getting out there and doing it.
Do you think the UK is a good place to be setting up a business now?
I think the UK is a very good place to be setting up a business, and we need to be setting up lots more businesses. particularly I think in the internet world. We don't have those great internet entrepreneurs we should have.
What's it like being a billionaire?
It's got a lot of responsibility, but it enables me to do things which hopefully I can feel proud of and make a difference in the world.
Can you ever have enough money?
You only need one breakfast, one lunch, one dinner, and therefore, you know, the money aspect is not actually that important.
Has wealth changed you?
It's given me the freedom to do the things I want to do, and hopefully to make a difference in the world.
But just quickly tell me, apart from kite surfing, what else do you do in your free time? 4 seconds.
Tennis, skiing, all sports, ballooning, any kind of sporting activity I love.
And that is 5 minutes. Thank you
well
very
done.
much. I'm going to ask you one quick question, which is cheating.
Yeah.
I didn't fit it into the interview. You've talked a bit about drugs internationally. Very simply, would you legalise drugs in the UK?
Well, look, the Global Commission of Drugs, which I'm one of the commissioners, believe that drugs should be decriminalised. Nobody should be sent to prison for taking drugs, and that drugs should be treated as a health problem, not a criminal problem. And therefore, you know, if you're caught taking drugs, people should try to talk to you and see whether they can help you, not send you to prison.
But you wouldn't decriminalise the selling of drugs in the UK?
The Global Commission is saying to governments, we would ask you to experiment. The war on drugs has failed, and every year more and more people are taking drugs. We ask different governments to experiment with different methods. So, you know, maybe in one country they can experiment with legalizing marijuana and regulating it and making sure that, you know, marijuana's the right kind of marijuana is sold to people. In another country they can just do decriminalization. It's up to individual countries to experiment with different methods. But I mean, Portugal, you know, for the last 10 years has not sent one person to prison for taking drugs. And the amount of people who are taking heroin has halved, the amount of people taking marijuana has reduced, the amount of people getting HIV has dropped dramatically, and the amount of breaking and enterings has dropped incredibly dramatically, by nearly 90%. So, you know, there are a lot of good things by reviewing the current policies.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.